Saint Francis of Assisi was the son of Pietro, a cloth merchant, and the Lady Pesca, who may have come from France. At Francis' birth, his father was away on a business trip to France, and his mother had him baptized Giovanni. On his return, however, Pietro changed the infant's name to Francisco because of either his interest in France or his wife's background. Francis learned to read and write Latin at the school near the church of San Giorgio, acquired some knowledge of French language and literature, and was specially fond of the provincial culture of the troubadours. He liked to speak French and also sing in that language. About the age of 19, Francis went to battle against the nearby town of Perugia. Francis was captured and taken prisoner. He was held prisoner in a dungeon for a year before his father paid the ransom and he was set free. Over the next few years, Francis began to see visions from God that changed his life. The first vision was when he was sick with a high fever. At first, he thought that God had called him to fight in the Crusades. However, he had another vision that told him to help the sick. Finally, when praying in church, Francis heard God tell him to repair my church, which is falling in ruins. Francis gave all his money to the church. His father became very angry with him. Francis then left his father's home and took a vow of poverty. As Francis lived his life of poverty and preached to people about the life of Jesus Christ, people began to follow him. By 1209, he had around 11 followers. He had one basic rule, which was to follow the teachings of our Lord Jesus Christ and to walk in his footsteps. Francis was a devoted follower of the Catholic Church. He and his followers traveled to Rome to get the approval of the religious order from the Pope. At first, the Pope was reluctant. These men were dirty, poor, and smelt bad. However, eventually he understood their vow of poverty and blessed the order. The Franciscan order grew as men joined and made vows of poverty. When a woman named Clare of Assisi wanted to take similar vows, Francis helped her start the order, and it was called as the Order of Saint Clare or the Order for the Poor Ladies. He also started another order later called the Third Order of Saint Francis, that was for men and women who didn't take vows or leave their jobs but lived out the principles of Franciscan order in their daily lives. Francis was known for his love of nature and animals. There are many stories about Saint Francis and his preaching to animals. It is said that one day he was talking to some birds when they began to sing together. Then he flew into the sky and formed the sign of a cross. It was also said that Francis could tame wild animals. One story tells of a vicious wolf in the town of Gubbio that was killing people and sheep. The people of the town were frightened and didn't know what to do. Francis went to the town to confront the wolf. At first, the wolf growled at Francis and prepared to attack him. However, Francis made the sign of the cross and told the wolf not to hurt anyone. The wolf then became tame and the town was safe. Francis became ill and spent the last few years of his life mostly blind. He died in 1226 while singing Psalm 141. He was declared a saint of the Catholic Church only 2 years after his death. Some of the interesting facts about Saint Francis of Assisi are his 4th of October is observed as Saint Francis feast day. It is said that he received the stigmata 2 years before he died. This was the wounds of Christ from the cross, including his hands, feet, and side. Francis traveled to the Holy Lands during the Crusades, hoping to conquer the Muslims with love rather than war. Francis set up the first known nativity scene to celebrate Christmas in the year 1220. He believed that actions were the best example, telling his followers to preach the gospel at all times and, where necessary, use words